Joining us today, we have Nick Gordiichuk. I think I said that right. Joining us
Right.
from Kiev over in Ukraine. And Nick, thank you so much for getting on and visiting with us. Now, you farm there. Give people a little bit of a background of your operation and your farm and what you do.
Yep. Well, first, I would like to thank you for inviting me to share, I would say, my story with your audience. We left house on 24th of February when Russians invaded Ukraine, and because of the shellings, and for about 22 days we could not come back to Kiev because it was too dangerous. Now my family is safe in the western Ukraine, and I came back to Kiev because I have a farm of about 600 hectares where we grow winter wheat, seed potatoes, table potatoes, maize, and soybeans.
Talk a little bit about, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I was going to say, talk a little bit about what the day-to-day is like there as far as what you're seeing and what you're experiencing there.
Part of the Ukraine is occupied by Russian troops, so many farmers don't have today access to their fields. And when you say no access, it means you can hear the shelling, you can see the missiles, and some tractors can get into on the mines which are in the field, and that's the most dangerous situation. Kyiv area is rather quiet now, but yesterday and day before yesterday we had Russian troops in our area. That means that no roads were closed, no people could go to work, and also you could hear shelling every 30-40 minutes. You could hear some explosions in the air, and in this situation, of course, you cannot do anything in the farm or in the field. And today it's a quiet day. We hear that Russian forces moved to the east, and I was today all day at the farm, and we were grading and packing potatoes.
So talk a little bit about getting work done at the farm. You say obviously you're packing some potatoes. Are you able to find enough people and enough help to do that work?
There are several challenges we're now facing when it comes to the season. At this moment, we should be in the field, and we should be putting some fertilizer to winter wheat, for example. But we cannot do it because in those areas which were under Russian occupation, we find mines in the field, or we find some rockets that did not explode because they were too old, maybe. And for this reason, we need to wait until the war officially is over and we can get some special help to clean the fields from mines. So we cannot do, let's say, we cannot work in the field. But in other areas which have not been occupied, of course, farmers are in the field and trying to put fertilizer in, or even to seed drill some early crops, and they are getting ready for field works. And of course, there are challenges today. The biggest challenge today, we have availability of people, because Ukraine has suffered tremendously. We have about 3 million people who left Ukraine abroad, escaping from the war. We also have about 7 million people inside Ukraine who have moved from occupied area to the western part of Ukraine, as we call internal immigration. And that's a big problem to find tractor drivers or workers for the farm. Second problem we are facing is availability of diesel. Recently, most of attacks have been on diesel and petrol stations, and we find a lot of explosions in those places, and so there is a deficit of diesel and gasoline for the farms. And farmers have problems also with fertilizer and availability of crop protection. And that will be, I would say, very challenging, even for those areas where there is no Russian occupation in Ukraine.
Nick, I know obviously our audiences are farmers themselves, a lot of people that work in agriculture here in the U.S., and we've been following this very closely because Ukraine is such a global exporter of grains. If you were to try to put a number on it, how much of a crop do you think you'll be able to even harvest or sell this year? Is that even going to be possible?
Well, what we can see now when we talk about planting area, we already see that at least now we estimate that 25% of the area will not be planted. But that's one problem. Another problem we see at the moment that some farmers are not thinking about planting because we don't know where we will sell our crops. At the moment, all the ports of Black Sea are blocked by Russians, and of course we have no. For example, in normal year, Ukraine would be exporting 3 to 4 million tons per month of grains. Now we exported for last month only 800 to 900,000 tons, which is just a fraction. And of course, Ukraine is a big exporter of grains. We export about 15% of the total world market, and this could also influence overall food security in the world.
Yeah, it's something that's, I think, a very big concern, given the amount of wheat and other crops that Ukraine ships. If this all stopped today and we could come up with some sort of resolution there, how long do you think it would take to get back to normal? Whatever normal will be.
Well, it's very difficult to, just like you said, very difficult to estimate what normal is. We have, for many farms, we have already lost some time. And it's not that you can just go into the field and start planting. And as you know, Ukraine has very big fields. For example, we in our farm, we have 200 hectares of potatoes. In order to start planting on 15th, 20th of April, we should have started in March to prepare soil, to put fertilizer, etc. And we already lost some time. So that will be the major problem. That even, let's assume war stops tomorrow, we are already late for some crops.
As you, obviously you're spending some time talking with us, and we very much appreciate it. What do you think people need to know or should know about the situation there that are watching from other parts of the world?
Well, people should know that Russia has invaded Ukraine, and they have started. It's a murder what we see now in our cities of Mariupol or Kharkiv, where we have in Chernihiv, where we have people being there without possibility to leave the town, and Russia is bombing civilians, and about 150 children died just over last month, and this is unbelievable to see this in 21st century. So we are also very thankful to the countries who are helping us, and to the help we're getting from the United States and from EU. But they should help us to close the sky over Ukraine. This is the biggest problem today we have, not only farmers, but also regular people who are living in Ukraine. And we understand all the risks connected to it, but we are not fighting for our freedom. We are actually fighting to stop the evil moving to the west of Ukraine.
As we talk about the displacement of people, obviously a lot of children have moved or left or been sent other places. What is that seems like that could have a long tail or a big impact on the future and even the future of farms in the region going forward.
We absolutely. Well, first of all, we have people who left Ukraine, and today already it's being estimated about 3 million people that left Ukraine abroad to countries like Poland, Hungary, and so on. And some of these people for sure will come back, but some of these people will never will stay there, and that will be also a challenge for Ukraine to face this. But another challenge which we have today is that psychologically this generation of children, they will never be like they've been before the war. And we see now children who come out from the war zone, they are scared when they hear any sound which looks like like a plane which is flying above their head, etc. And it is a big tragedy for Ukraine and for the world to see what Putin and his regime is doing here. It's like in Syria, or you name all these countries where Russia came, they always brought death to people.
Well, we know it's probably an overwhelming experience, and there's so many things that you're trying to deal with on a daily basis and a weekly basis. We appreciate you taking a few minutes to visit with us and tell your story to our audience. Thank you so much, and we'll be thinking about you as you go through the rest of this week and the rest of this year.
I appreciate you keeping Ukraine in your thoughts and prayers, and also thank you for the possibility to share with your audience the time we are going through. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.